Welcome back to the Here We Go podcast. I am, of course, your host, Trent Ging. That is Colin Phillips with the Kansas jersey on.
Come here,
Colin,
baby.
you ready for some Kansas basketball tonight or what?
Yes, sir, man. We got John Calipari. My opinion, the closest thing to the Antichrist. And he's coaching the Arkansas Razorbacks now. So hopefully we can put some big old belt to ass to him. So
I love it. I love it. Well, dude, we didn't get to do
let's
this on
talk about a real
Wednesday.
sport.
Yeah, we didn't get to do this Wednesday. That was totally my bad. I had quite the debacle going with the vehicle. Got myself into more than I intended to. So apologize for that. So I hope your week was better than mine. How you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Had a good week. So, um, yeah, I'm just excited to talk some ball. It'll be nice to kind of probably won't be nice to fit it into one episode just because it's like very difficult to do as such. But I feel like
Yep.
the people I know Unk's been waiting for us. So
He's ready to roll. Well, let's get into this thing. So Jets. Let's start with the Jets week. So big win. I mean, obviously, is a big win. We definitely did not see that going the way that it turned out to go. Right? I mean, what in the world happened in that game? What was your takeaway from that?
I mean, my number one takeaway: the Jets are just bad, man. Like, and it sucks. It really does. Um, oh God, yeah, I know, dude. If that was Mahomes, Byron Young would have been sentenced 25 to life. But anyway, such a gimmicky game. God, I like the Vikings. I think Trent knows that the Vikings are probably my second team if I had to root for another one. But regardless of that being said, I think the Jets, Trent, are just that bad. Um,
Shockingly, I was not ready for
shockingly.
that.
Well, and that's the thing. I think I even might have said it on this podcast that like, dude, the Jets are going to be like a top three team in the AFC. Well, that didn't happen. And I don't think everybody wants to come and bitch and moan about Rodgers. I don't think that's like really the the bigger underlying issue. He's definitely not. He's definitely not
He didn't help.
un. Right. Thank you. He's definitely
Yeah.
not helping. But I just think that team is so poorly coached. That offensive line, for as much money that's been invested in it, is awful. The defense is injured like no other, which I think we caught a break with a little bit. I don't know about you. I think we really did
The
catch a
entire
break with them.
secondary was gone. I mean,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Pickens caught a touchdown pass against like a practice squad guy. Like
Mm.
Sauce Gardner, because that was right after Sauce Gardner got hurt. Like, whatever. I'll take it. You know what? At this point, and that's the same thing I told my dad. I was like, dude, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take a win.
5-2 is 5-2.
Right.
That's what
Doesn't
matters,
matter how you
right?
do it.
So, um, I mean, I really, I think I kind of maybe I put too much faith in the fact that Aaron and Adams were being paired back up. I thought that would bring a little bit of life. They've had the obviously firing of the coach, and most organizations will respond a little bit to that in a positive or very negative way. It's usually not any in between. So I thought, okay, we got Salah getting fired. Adams comes in. Maybe this team rallies a little bit, even despite the injuries, and that's not what happened. Um, they couldn't establish the run. I mean, it was such a one-dimensional team. You and I thought both running backs are really good running backs and would have an impact in this game. And outside of the receiving, they were both kind of non-existent in this one. So I thought that was a big piece of this game. And for me personally, I actually thought the coaching staffs on both offense and defense for our team made necessary adjustments, even if they were very minor adjustments, that made a big difference. I mean, Brees Hall tore us up in the first half. There's no questioning that. I mean, that dude caught a ball that should have been a 3 yard gain and turned it into about, what, 44? And I thought that was a big difference in the game when he kept he had like 80 something yards receiving at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think it was like 94, actually.
It was
I think he had
insane.
like 3 catches for 94 yards or something ridiculous. I'm like, all right, come on.
And
Um,
I thought they started sinking the linebackers a little bit and kind of keying on that short passing game a little bit more that kind of made Rodgers throw the ball downfield. And that's kind of where the turnovers started to create or missed throws. And I think that's kind of where we started putting our foot to the pedal right there in the
mhm.
second half defensively. Offensively, I just thought it was a matter of Russ settled into the game and then Arthur started calling shots. I mean, it was pretty that simple. I mean, he calls the shot to George. That kind of let Russ settle down a little bit. Of course, Fryermuth had a ridiculous catch. I mean, that one-handed ball coming over
He
the
had a great
shoulder. That's
catch
a
and run
tough.
too.
Yeah, that's a tough grab. The catch and run was a good catch and run. Austin has a big play on a pick play that kind of was busted coverage. I mean, it really kind of
He'll
opened it up
take
in the
it.
second half. Yeah, all day, all day.
Yeah,
I mean, it's part scheme, part busted coverage.
and I don't think there was a whole lot of the offense changing with Russ. I did kind of find it ironic and kind of funny, and more actually frustrating. That like all of a sudden Russ comes in, we get bunch sets, we get a bunch of pre-snap motions, we get a whole bunch of different formations that we didn't get with Justin, and it's
Yep.
like, well, first of all, fuck you, but second of all, like it worked, and I told my buddy Shane this exact same thing. I'm like, you know what? Because me and Shane both feel very very similar about the quarterback situation, and I told him, I'm like, dude, it worked. I mean, we scored 37. If different formations and 36-year-old Russell Wilson means we score 37 points a game, I'll take it. Now,
You're
the
right
one
with
thing
that.
I will say, Trent, do I trust it yet? Absolutely not. Okay. The moon ball, the first one to Pickens, complete underthrow, terrible throw. Just a great play by
Mm-hmm.
Pickens. Pat Fireman bails him out on a ball that should have been perfectly thrown, but somehow he overthrew him. Phenomenal catch, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Missing throws on third down was egregious. Those first three drives, I mean, we texted in our chat. Oh, we were done. I was done. I was like, dude, bring Justin in next possession.
Yep.
So obviously we can't start games like that. And a lot of the casual fans will sit there and say, oh, Russell Wilson this, Russell Wilson that. It's like, okay, but there's different things that weren't sustainable. Number one, you can't start games like that. Number two, we got to figure out something with that right side of the offensive line. Mason McCormick's been just fine, actually fairly good in pass pro, but that Broderick Jones guy, he's
Yeah.
terrible. Oh my God, Trent, he's so bad. He's so bad. What do you think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to do to him? Right? I mean, so many different parts of that game was not sustainable, but I will say I think Russ gave us a spark. I think he gave us a lot more passing upside. I think he was quicker to the reads. I think he was quicker to make decisions. Great is definitely an understatement. I kind of expected a lot better in the run blocking game, but yeah, I don't know.
He's been the flip opposite of what I expected. I think honestly, he's been
I agree.
much better in pass pro, and he's been much.
James, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, no, that's the first time I've seen him in here.
Yeah, what's
in
up,
the
man?
comment section. He tried to jump in last time. I think he was getting in the wrong way, but
Gotcha.
dude, I thought he was better in pass pro than he was in the run blocking, but he's known as kind of more of the run blocking guy, which is
Right.
kind of interesting. But that's a rookie finding their footing, I think. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like
sure.
very early in the season for him. I don't know. All right, let's dive into this. You cool diving into this one?
The question that's on the screen?
Yep.
Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
Would you even consider this?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I mean, it hits a point where it's like this isn't sustainable. You claim you want to win now. You might as well see what you have with Cook. I mean, if it's on par with Broderick Jones or worse, obviously you go back to Broderick. But it's got to hit a point where he either needs a wake up call or he needs benched. One of the two. And it doesn't look like number one's going to happen before number two happens. So yeah, I mean, if Dylan Cook is somehow just as good or better, okay, that's fine. Bench him. That's fine. Go back to Broderick Jones. That's totally fine. But it's got to hit a point where we should really think long and hard when Dylan Cook is healthy, because Fautanu didn't just outplay him. It was significant how much better he looked than Broderick Jones on the right side.
Yep.
But the problem is that James and Trent both, like, the problem is Dan Moore's the 18th graded PFF offensive tackle in the league. There's 64 starters. There's 64 starters in the league, and he's graded 18th in the league. You can't bench him. He's played himself into the spot. Good for him. You know what? Honestly, great for him. Great for him. It took him 4 damn years, but great for him. He's earned his spot. So either Broderick Jones
thank God right now, if you're looking at where our offensive line is, thank God he's playing like this, because
could you
imagine if you had Jones and then another guy like Dan Moore in the past?
Oh, and Dan Moore was still bad? Oh, it'd be over. It'd be over.
No, it wouldn't matter who's at quarterback. I mean, you're just dropping back and launching one as far as you can throw it because you don't have time to do anything else,
Right.
or just dump passes all day. That'd be bad.
I agree.
Totally agree here too. For long
Very
years.
long years.
For me, I think that the Cook and Jones thing is going to come down to the same kind of conversation that you started with Russ Wilson versus Justin Fields. I think Jones is going to be the better run blocker between he and Cook. Cook's looking like the better pass pro, but Cook's kind of been better at the left tackle than the right tackle too. So what's he look like on the right side? Have we really even seen much of him on the right side? I don't know that I've seen too much of him. And when you have, it's against third string guys in preseason. So like, what would he even look like against starters? I don't know. What does it do to? I don't think you can hurt Jones's confidence. Benching him or not, it's not going to matter. His confidence cannot be high right now. He's got to be about as low as you possibly get in the conversation as far as the confidence standpoint. I just don't see it. He's got a lot to figure out, to say the least. I actually still think Broderick Jones is going to be a good player in this league. I don't know if he's going to be elite, but I think he was a project guy coming in, and we're throwing him into the fire as a rookie.
Well, then it goes back,
and then changing positions. And you and I've gone back and forth on this.
but then it goes back to the whole Pat Meyer thing. Like, God, who is Pat Meyer developed? I mean, it's I don't know, man. It's hindsight is 2020, but
yeah,
hindsight is 2020. I think we should have just had him on the left side to begin the year, but
I do too. I'm gonna throw this back up from Zach going back to Russ. I don't know. I kind of believe it. What do you think about that comment? I mean, do you think Russ was feeding off the booze and like kind of got himself snapped into game mode? I mean, I think he was rusty coming into this game, obviously.
For sure.
I mean,
he hasn't played since like November of last year, so I mean that could have something to do with it. I don't know, man. It's tough, and he was probably. I mean, he was definitely like in the back of his head had the calf injury that held him out the beginning of the whole season. In his, I don't know, man. Whatever the hell he did in the second half, he needs to do to start games because those first few drives, man, it was so bad, and that's just not sustainable, man. You have 3 or 4 drives like that against Kansas City or Baltimore or Cincinnati, for that matter. You're down 14-0 at least. Right? It just can't happen.
Let me ask you this, because I actually thought his best play of the day was the play where he's running play action. I think Najee was in the game at the time. He runs play action. The edge rusher comes off the left side, untouched. He flips his hips real quick and throws that little, I think Freiermuth might have been 3 or 4 yards downfield on that crosser.
Yeah, the catch and run. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was Russ's best play of the entire game because of the fact that we talked so much about his mobility and his athletic ability, and the offensive line was bad. And I just thought the way he was able to diagnose, hurry up and get rid of the football before he got killed, because, I mean, there was no reason he doesn't get killed on that play. I think most quarterbacks take a sack in that situation unless you're a veteran. I think Justin would have taken a sack right there, honestly.
For sure, Justin would have. I would say, yeah, that was definitely his best play. Obviously, since Christmas, I'm pretty sure it was November. I think he only played 14 games last year. I think he played 14.
I saw December was his last game too.
Okay, because I thought he only played 14 games. Anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, that probably was his best play. It was actually a pretty exciting play because seeing Pat Freiermuth do a catch and run, because you see him a lot of times. A lot of his catches are like 3 guys around him. He just has to catch it and go down. But that was really cool to see. I love Pat Freiermuth, man. That one-handed catch. I was bitching at Flip. You know it, dude. I was all over Flip. I love me some Pat Freiermuth, man. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a great play. I thought the one-handed catch was a phenomenal catch, to be honest with you. And I agreed with what your earlier point was with Russ. I thought he underthrew some balls. I thought he missed some throws, but I also think there were some that were intentional underthrows. A lot of times when you're throwing that, if the receiver's not ahead of the DB when they're going for these deep shots downfield, you do thrown on purpose
to take the
just
PI.
because it gives, you give the PI comes into the picture. The receiver gets a chance to adjust, and if they adjust late, like they should, then the DB doesn't have much of a chance to adjust, and it's a good play overall. And I thought there was a couple that he did on purpose that I thought maybe some fans would pick apart, which I didn't see a ton of, honestly. But there were definitely some that he was underthrowing that should have been out in front and possibly could have led to bigger plays. And even I'm thinking right now, the ball that Pickens juggles a couple of different times, he had the DB beat. Like that ball should have been further out in front, and Pickens probably goes for a much bigger game if that's out in front of him. So
yeah.
Overall, though, I listen, Russ. He moved the ball. The offense got moving. We put 37 points on the board. And the thing that I think that would be the part that you could be most optimistic about was the fact that the run game opened because of the pass instead of the other way around.
The other way around. Mm-hmm. Good call.
And
I like that.
I like that. The thing that I think is fair to also criticize is Russ is doing this against guys that really had no business being in the field. So can that be sustainable? And like you said, how much of what we saw from him was completely sustainable? So what was your evaluation of Russ overall in that kind of a vacuum, I guess?
I'm going to say the same thing I said. It was great that we moved the ball. It was great that we scored a bunch of points. I don't think a lot of it's sustainable. Moon balls, underthrows, getting bailed out by receivers, getting bailed out by penalties. I don't think any of that's sustainable. I think if he cleans that shit up, it's fine. And then I still think that it was actually really you brought up a fantastic point. Seeing the pass game opening up the run game as opposed to vice versa was really something that I liked as well. And then honestly, not even about Russ, about the team in general, the culture, maybe the game plan, whatever the hell you want to call it. Coming out and running the ball on fourth down at the end of the game and having Najee go for a 10-yard score. I said, hell yeah. I said, step on that boy's throat. Absolutely. Yes. And it helps Najee's stat pad. So I was like, yay.
I liked it.
I was like, yay. You know, hey, it gave me another 7 points in fantasy. I'm like, come here.
I think that was something that we saw so often that the team would be very conservative and just like put a field goal on the board or whatever. Just
or knee it or something.
Yeah, it was just whatever, just to kind of end the game. But like, I felt like there was kind of like an attitude adjustment for the team. Like, listen, we can be that team that can go out there and finish a game. And Zach agrees. He's right on board with this. So I mean, I thought that was a chance to show, listen, we're not here just to win a game anymore. We're not going to win by the field goal, driving down the field in the last 2 minutes with Kenny Pickett at quarterback and hope to God that we get in field goal range and let Boz bail us out. Like, this was like listen, we have a lead. We're going to step on their throat and we're going to win this game decisively. So I like that call. Defensively. So another slow start to the defense. What is going on with the slow starts on the defensive side of the ball? What do you make of that?
I mean, I wasn't as worried as I was against the Raiders, just because, like, you are playing Aaron Rodgers, and a lot of it was, like, gimmicky shit, like quick screens, quick slants. Now, the tackling needs cleaned up, I will say. Surprisingly, this week, Patrick Queen wasn't a victim to the tackle bug, which I was actually pretty happy about. I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up the injury report as we speak. But yeah, I wasn't worried about it whatsoever. I knew the Jets were going to score. It was one of those things where I knew they were going to score. They were going to score. That team's going to score. They got way too many playmakers not to. I thought Queen played well. I thought Deshaun Elliott had another game with multiple big plays. The one thing I will say, I don't even care about anybody else. Oh, Beanie Bishop, let's go, buddy. Good work.
Oh, man, finally.
Our boy. I know our boy, but
love that.
The one thing we cannot see again is Cam, Minka, and TJ all being invisible. That is not acceptable. That cannot happen again. If that happens again against a real team, we're fucked. So that's really all I have to say about the defense.
I thought Cam played better than the stat sheet showed. I thought Cam controlled the line of scrimmage pretty well. And the Jets offensive line.
Keanu Benton, big time game too. Haha.
Keanu Benton had a good game. He had a really, really nice game. First of all, he breaks up that screen pass right in the middle of the field. He basically just enveloped the running back. I think that one was another one that was supposed to be a screen that he basically was like, no, this ain't happening. And his long arms gets out in front of Hall, and Hall has no business being a part of that, trying to catch the ball there. But
Right? I
right
agree.
in the middle of the defensive line. I mean, that was not going to happen. But I think Beanie Bishop, man, I was screaming, screaming, getting yelled at by my wife at the same time, but screaming for Beanie Bishop to score right there, because I'm like, man, if he gets a pick six against Aaron Rodgers, who's going to the Hall of Fame as a rookie, dude, it doesn't matter what the rest of your career looks like. That's a story you're telling for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and we've been kind of, high on him, but also rooting for him at the same time. So I love the fact that Beanie got 2 picks in that game. That first pick, man, that was a play. That was a playmaker
It's a
making a
hell
play.
of a
That was
play.
not just like people are going to say, oh, the second one was a deflection off of, basically the shoulder pads in the middle of his chest with Garrett Wilson. But that first one, he was not even facing the right direction to make a play on the ball. And he flips his hip, makes a one-handed stab at it. Great play. So happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with this too. That was the best play, Madam. Like, dude, he went full on Superman, flying through the air to stop that touchdown. I was pissed. First of all, I was impressed, but I was also pissed at the same time because I
I
wanted
knew we
the
were gonna
Kings.
score. I thought it was gonna be a Najee score. The selfish part of me,
I
but
did too.
whatever.
Yeah, I did too. Van Jefferson gets a score in this game.
Artie
I
Smith was
mean,
in his bag, man. Artie
he
Smith was
was.
in his bag.
He
Fantastic.
called a
Great,
great
great,
game.
great game called.
So, I don't know. Anything else you want to get to the Jets game before we move forward here into the Giants? All right, it's just a great game. So, Giants. So, injuries for the Giants.
Yeah, so I'll start you with that.
Go
We got corner number 2, so their other side outside of Deontay Banks, limited with the groin. Punter Jamie Gillen is probably out with the hamstring. Couple limiteds. Adoree Jackson's a significant one. I think he's CB3 on that team. Did not practice today. Dexter
Okay.
Lawrence has a hip injury that's limited him. Brian Burns is the major one. He will I saw from a lot of networks that he will be out Sunday.
Yeah.
Right tackle Jermaine Eleumenour, the Raider last year that TJ Watt beat the shit out of. He did not practice today. Jalen Hyatt surprisingly practiced. I thought the injury was pretty severe last week, but whatever. That's really all there is to say. But Brian Burns is definitely the big one. I would say him and Cordell Flott are the 2 big ones there. Well, and Adoree Jackson. So CB 2 and 3, and then their best edge rusher. All 50-50 to play. A couple of them being out. So that's big.
Yeah, I think it's significant to talk about the fact this game is on Monday night, not Sunday. So there is still this is a little different than your normal Friday practice report
Still
because
plenty
you
of time,
have
yeah.
the extra day. But I agree. Brian Burns, if he doesn't play, that significantly changes the look on their defensive line. Obviously,
Helps out
he's
Dan Moore a lot.
big time player. Yeah, for sure. Dexter Lawrence is going to be an absolute problem. That dude, we've talked about him. We touched on him last week. He is one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. And I don't know how I feel about him going up against McCormick, or really anybody across the defensive line. You've got to have 4 hands. Tomlin said this. You got to have 4 hands on that guy at all times. Luckily, we just played against a great defensive lineman. But how much?
He was fairly silent for that. At that,
he actually was. How much of the shop do you think Lawrence can wreck in this one for us?
I mean, I think if we were able to hold Quinn Williams to a quiet game, we could do the same with Dexter Lawrence. I think Quinn Williams is a better player. I know sacks Dexter Lawrence leads the league in, but whatever, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident about it at this point. Now, do I really wish we had Frazier back? Of course. I would kill to have Frazier against, Dexter Lawrence there, but again, the Giants we'll get to that later. But yeah, no, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Tentatively, I'm cool with it.
I mean, their injury is significant. He's a big part of that team, and I don't know. So, what do you think about overall, knowing Burns potentially misses this game with our offensive line going against their defensive line as a whole?
I mean, that was kind of the one thing with the Giants coming in is they had a fantastic defensive line. I mean, what even is their record? Are they 3-4? Correct.
I think so. I
Okay.
think so. I can pull it up and look while you're talking, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're 3-4. Um, there's really not much I don't really know exactly what to say. Kayvon Thibodeau after his rookie year kind of fell off a cliff. Brian Burns is obviously fantastic, but he's nowhere near like Highsmith or Watt. And then Dexter Lawrence, obviously, again, if we were able to keep Quinnen Williams to a fairly quiet game, I don't see why we can't do the same with Dexter Lawrence. So I'm a lot more confident than I should be, probably. I'm kind of
they're 2-5, just
2-5. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm blindly confident, but it doesn't seem like this this defense in general is carrying them to win games like the 2019 Steelers defense did. So I'm not going to worry about it. Whatever, man.
And this is obviously a very winnable game. If it feels like this is the type of game that if we don't go into the bye week at 6-2, you're wondering what went drastically wrong, because the Giants, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're not selling off Darius Slayton at this point. Like, we should be, and I'm sure we are, having a conversation with them about Darius Slayton. This is the third week in a row we're talking about a wide receiver that could play for our team that we're getting ready to play against. I don't know what they're hanging on to. I mean, Malik Neighbors is a phenomenal player on offense. Obviously, I mean he looks like more than just a rookie. Theo Johnson looks like a really nice tight end in this league, but their offensive line is a wreck. Outside of John Michael Schmitz, maybe.
Well, and Andrew Thomas is out for the year.
Yeah. Yep. So, and I think they said they're not playing Evan Neal.
I think he's hurt. Pretty sure he's hurt.
Oh, okay. All right. I was thinking somewhere I saw that he wasn't going to play, and I was very confused. So maybe that's why. Okay. So I've probably missed a lot the last couple days dealing with my truck. But Daniel Jones, dude does not look like a franchise quarterback. Devin Singletary, I don't know what you want to say about him. He's not.
This game's like the Raiders, man. There's really not much to say. It's going to be embarrassing if we don't blow them out.
100%. 100%. So what would you say right now is something that I guess you want to see from our team offensively or defensively, whichever way you want to start, that kind of establishes ourselves in this game and shows like we're going to move into the bye week with a lot of momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty clear earlier on. I mean, I'm going to say the same thing. I didn't really trust that what Russ did last week was sustainable. I want to see it again this week. I know it's like kind of a worse team, but maybe a little bit better of a defense if they're more healthy. Who knows? Who knows? But I want to see it again. I want to see if this Russ thing is actually sustainable when we get into the gauntlet, the Commanders, the Ravens twice, Bengals twice, Browns twice, Chiefs, Eagles, etc. Like that's what I want to see if it's actually sustainable. So yeah, I mean, I would say keep the same game plan as last week. Step on their damn throats. I don't care. And then I feel like this is getting old to say, but let's do it. Najee, big game. Why not? Got to run the ball. So,
do you think this secondary is going to be because and I'm only asking this because this is how I felt from last game. Do you think the secondary is going to give much of a test to Russell Wilson to show that this is sustainable for the season? Because I do think there's a couple of nice players in the secondary, and Dante Banks, I liked him. I really liked Tyler Nubin coming in
out of Minnesota. Yes, I loved him.
Really like that kid a lot. But do you think this is a good secondary that you could say, okay, Russ has another good game? Like, I feel good about Russ moving forward into the season and possibly looking at long term in a playoff game.
Well, and what's nice about Russ is it's like, okay, he's played really good defenses before, right? I mean, he's had his fair share of really good defenses, really good secondaries for that matter. Now, the thing is, I mean, so if you go by, I mean, how do I phrase? When you go by, like from a roster standpoint, Deonte Banks really has been very good, which I didn't think he would be. He was just kind of a freak athlete that they wanted to call a defensive back. Tyler Nubin, I really liked as well. Jason Pinnock, I've always thought is a very underrated safety. And then Corday Flot's, whatever, kind of a nobody. I mean, if Russ can't have a similar game this week as he did last week against, I think, a much better Jets secondary, we have some problems. And that's what I talk about, the sustainability aspect. Can he
Yeah.
sustain these kind of games no matter who he plays? I think is the biggest thing. And looking at the Jets here, or the Giants, sorry, looks like they give up. They only give up 180 passing yards a game, but it's 8 touchdowns and a pick, right?
Yeah.
22 sacks on the year, so about a little over 3 a game. So, I mean, they're definitely not a bad team against the pass, but I don't. I think it would be a little bit embarrassing for Russ if we didn't throw the ball over him.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. And I half wondered, and I think as we kind of started wrapping up our shows and I got into the weekend, and I'm like, all right, we have to give Russ a fair shake on this thing because he's the starting quarterback right now, right? So we're going to have to give him a fair shake on this. And I'm like,
Much as we didn't want to.
he's got 2 games in a row where I felt like working himself back from being a rusty quarterback, he has great opportunities to have 2 really good games in a row against bad secondaries and really establish a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum going into the bye week because we're going to need a lot of momentum going into this bye week because the Washington game doesn't look like the game that we were talking about in preseason. That's a much better team than I think a lot of people thought they were going to be.
That's in Washington
So
too, right?
I believe so, yeah. So I mean,
I mean,
really
depending on
need.
Daniel's health,
He's questionable this week, so I think you have to assume in 2 weeks he's playing.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was questionable, and there's talks he could play this week, but there's not a lot of certainty around it from what I've seen so far. So I mean, take it for what it is. I think he'll be definitely playing against us. But offensively, I think we need to find a way to get the run game going independently rather than what we've seen so far in the past, which has been either Justin Fields kind of initiating it himself and then the rest of the team following along, or in the last game, Russell throwing and opening up the run, which I mean you can see that being a thing because we've seen a lot of loaded boxes, right? So I mean sometimes you do have to throw to open the run, but I want to see the run game really start dominating, not just establishing the run, but dominating because that's what our identity is supposed to be. Defensively, I just don't want to see a slow start. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they give up a touchdown. Just please, for the love of God, don't be the opening drive, and don't let them carve us up for 2 series in a row. And like these
If
teams
I
have
see a
stripped.
Tyrone Tracy Jr. legacy game, I will lose it. I mean, come on, like, because it's that gimmicky shit on a Tomlin team that's some random ass running backs like Justin Forsett back in 2014, or
Yes.
just some gimmicky ass running back just has a fucking career day. I don't want to see that at all. But yeah, no,
You know who I could see having a big game? Theo Johnson, dead serious.
yeah,
An,
like
an,
Trey
an,
McBride last year.
an
Yeah,
athletic tight end who can run goes against our middle
but
linebackers
I
who've been
just
suspect in coverage.
I feel a lot better about the linebackers and safeties we have this year, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
So who knows, man? I just want everybody to be healthy because I know Deshaun Elliott was on the report this week. He was questionable or limited, I should say. Dante Jackson was full. You know, people get so gimmicky and pissed off about Dante Jackson. Whatever. He's practicing on Wednesday at this point.
Yeah, dude's played fantastic all season. I mean,
Right.
he's going to get bumps and bruises. I actually saw some. Did you hear anything about Corey Trice?
He'll be back after the bye.
Okay, because I saw something that stated he might make it.
No. No,
back.
I talked to Alan not yesterday, but a couple days prior. He pretty much said, yeah, I mean, we're getting Frazier, Trice, Herbig, Roman. That's all I can think of right now that we're getting after the bye. So I don't worry about Trice. You know,
There was a report Roman might be evaluated for IR.
fucking of course.
Saw
I
that
mean,
today,
man, we got one more game before the bye. If we could just have all these guys make it through there without anything serious, please. This injury report, man, it has to shrink. It just
yeah.
feels like it's either
crazy.
really big or really small, and it can't be really big late in the year.
So Giants, there's not a ton to talk about with this Giants game. I think we both expect them to win this pretty handedly. Are you surprised we haven't made a wide receiver trade at this point? I really thought Mike Williams was like going to be here in Pittsburgh by like Tuesday.
No, I'm not.
Well,
I say
I
absolutely
don't
not. Say no.
here. I'm not either because I think
Oh
number
yeah, we
one,
get Sutton after the bye too. That's right.
yeah, I think Sutton's going to play in the slot, and I
And
don't
he's
know.
not a very good slot corner.
Let me ask you this: I feel like, and tell me if you disagree. I feel like they're going to play Sutton and Beanie in a very similar way that they played Mike Hilton and Sutton back when they were kind of both younger and growing together, and they kind of almost like split reps at that slot position. Do you think that's how you see him getting utilized, or do you
I
think
don't
they're
really.
going to continue to ride Beanie right now the way he's playing?
I'm not gonna freak out either way. I like to see him ride out with Beanie. Because Cameron Sutton's not a very good slot corner to begin with. He's always been a better outside corner. I've never been that impressed with him in the slot. I think Mike Hilton kind of carried that. I like Beanie, man. Beanie's one of the premier slot corners in the league right now. The fact that we're even fucking pondering this is outrageous to me.
Yeah.
And no, Zach, we have 26.5 fucking safeties on this team. We don't need another. I mean, we got 34 and a half, I think, safeties on the roster right now. So
I think it. Okay, so the part that I think Sutton's going to pay dividends in this, because I think they're going to ride Beanie too. I was just like giving you a question just to see what your response was. But okay, Trice has already had injury history. He was hurt this year. We've seen Dante Jackson struggling to stay healthy, even though he's only missed like one game, but he's missed a couple snaps here and there. I think Sutton, we looked at him as the slot answer maybe when the season started, but now I think he's going to be valuable in that outside position.
yeah,
And
it's
people forget
it's
how well he played in Pittsburgh before he went to Detroit. I mean,
yeah. In 2022,
he
he's
was
just
really
fine.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, he had a
yeah,
great
man.
year.
I
I thought.
mean, yeah, he was fine in 2022. Actually, pretty good. Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be more of a depth piece at this point. Not, I don't even want to say a depth piece because that kind of feels like, oh, CB5. He'll probably be CB4. I think you'll be able to see a little
Dime
bit more
packages.
rotation. Right.
He's going to be in dime packages a lot.
Right. I think you'll be able to see a little bit more rotation amongst that position when Trice and him both come back in the same week. I think that'll be pretty fun to see. A little bit more rotation with PZ and Dante as well.
You know what so I know you dismissed this offhand, the first point, but what I think could play into what he's saying here is we do at times like to roll coverages where the corner ends up rolling back into like a deep third, as more of like a back safety. I could see him fitting into that type of role where we're like trying to like run some like shell coverage stuff where we're trying to kind of disguise going from a cover 2 to a cover 3, or even like maybe even a cover 1 to a cover 2 where they roll the safety or the cornerback into a safety position. I think he's very versatile and he can fit that type of a role pretty well. I don't know how you make it work if he's not on the outside, but in certain circumstances where you see a guy like Mahomes or a Jalen Hurts or see, okay, this is kind of where he must have been going with it too.
I mean,
You know,
maybe
a veteran quarterback. Maybe you tried
that's
to do
that's
some of those
such a
disguises.
match. That's such a. I feel like that's such a game plan oriented, like matchup oriented thing. I'm not really going to lose sleep over that. I think we have a good group of safeties. I think, with Mincanelli and then KZ is safety 3. And then Edmonds hasn't played bad at all either. I mean, I don't know, man. Do what you want with him. What do you guys want me to say? Like, do what the fuck you want with him. I don't give a fuck what you do as long as he's not terrible. Like, I don't care. Do what you want with him. Whatever. That's the least of this team's worries right now. How we rotate defensive backs is by far the least of this team's fucking issues. So, what do you want me to say?
All right, let's change gears to this for a second, because I saw you and Flip kind of going back and forth. Not going back and forth, but you guys were kind of in agreement something that I totally disagree with. So this might make this a little fun. Jalen Warren. How do you feel about Jalen Warren as a blocking running back?
He's awful in pass pro. Awful. Awful in pass pro. I have always thought he's been probably the most overrated player in this team. And I'm a Najee super fan at that. Now, again, the selfish part of me says, yeah, let's rock with them both. It saves us a draft pick next year. Man, he just isn't all that great in the run blocking game. I mean, yeah, he'll pop somebody. Oh, he'll put a shoulder pad into a guy. Nice, you're in the fucking NFL. Please, you should put a shoulder pad into a linebacker. Like, you wanna fucking Purple Heart for it? Like, it's just these gimmicky people on Twitter, like the film fanboys or whatever. They're just like, oh, Jaylen Warren did this, that, and the third in the pass pro. It's like, he didn't really do all that. He just kind of put a shoulder into somebody, something you should do as a National Football League running back. I don't know, man. Najee, I feel like every time that we get the grades on these games, it's like Najee's in the 70s in the pass pro. It's like that's perfectly fine for a running back. I think not having Najee in has been shit coaching all year long. Having guys like Jonathan Ward and Aaron Shamplin, like how gimmicky is this? I don't know. I think Najee should be the 3-down back as we sit currently. If you want to put Jaylen Warren on like a screen or like a designed flat route, go for it. But I don't know. I don't see his use at this current conjecture.
Dude, see, this is why I wanted to bring this one up, because I thought it'd be a fun way to finish. I totally disagree. Like, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think Jaylen Warren's one of the best blocking running backs in the entire NFL. I don't care what PFF says. Dude, he stonewalled Max Crosby. Our right tackle can't stonewall Max Crosby. I mean, he's like, he's asked to pick up dudes blitzing in the A gap. I've seen Najee Harris block the guys in the A gap. That's why he wasn't the 3-down back when Jaylen came around, because he couldn't block them. I did not think Najee, as big as he is, as physical as he is, and as much as I like Najee too. Like I like Najee. We talked about this in the preseason. I was kind of split on the two guys of who should be a guy of the future, because Jaylen statistically was a better running back last year, but I've always thought that
Najee's carried this year.
Yeah, he just was not the guy who got the same type of blocking, and they weren't exactly similar opportunities when they ran the ball last year, because Jaylen, of course, is on the field on 3rd down, so he's going to get these draw plays that blow his numbers out of proportion on 3rd and 15 and whatever. But like, I really think Jaylen is a much better blocking running back than a lot of people give him credit for. I think he is incredible on film. I think he doesn't just hit guys and fall off. I think he sustains the block long enough to let the quarterback get rid of the football. Now, if you're going to ask that dude to block a guy like Max Crosby for 3 seconds, of course he's not going to hold up against him, because who does? Right? I mean, these A-gap blitzing linebackers, what running back holds up against a guy who's coming with a free shot at your quarterback, and you're asking a running back to take 2 steps forward and hold a guy? Like, he's doing enough to block, hold the block, let the quarterback get rid of the football, or get out of harm's way. I just think that the grading on him is a little unfair, and this is where me and PFF just kind of fall off the map together, because I think the film does not match what PFF grades him at. And I actually think he's a better blocking running back than Najee Harris is. That's just my personal opinion. So, I don't know. I like Jaylen. I don't think Jaylen is the answer long term. I think we've seen Najee Harris should be the guy long term. And this is another reason why I really honestly felt like, we should have picked up the 5th-year option. The way Najee's been playing and the way he's ran, and still not had good blocking. Really, he's not had fantastic blocking. I mean, you're a PFF guy. What's the run block grades across the board? They're not great, right?
It's in the fucking 50s and 60s, dude. Well, Frazier's the outlier for sure.
Yeah, it's Frazier or bust. So if you're somebody who follows PFF, he don't have anything running.
Daniels is having a fantastic year run blocking too, unfortunately.
He's doing fantastic on the season-ending IR.
He was. Right?
He was having a good year. I liked him. But I don't know, man. I feel like Jaylen's a better blocking running back than he gets credit for and what he gets graded as. How about this? Darnell Washington season high 4 catches in that Jets game.
I like it. I like getting him involved, man. Clearly Russ likes him. I like it. And I like seeing Arthur Smith kind of game plan for him. They were all like flat routes and easy shit, but it's like whatever. I like it.
You and I called for that though. We said like,
Right.
listen, if it works once, give it to him again, and
It
let's see if
doesn't
he
have
does
to be.
something
It
with
doesn't
it.
have to be like a double move post route or something. Just
No,
give him the ball in space, man. I mean, one went for 15, another one for like 13. Whatever, man.
dude.
And you know he's
First of
not going to
all,
get knocked back on a tackle anyway, so it's like
oh no,
whatever. You need 2
no,
yards. I guarantee you have one guy you're going to get 2 yards with.
yes. If we waited on a double post route from Washington, it might be Tuesday before he gets there. Because as fast as that dude ran in the 40, he does not play that way on the field. But listen, man, you dump him
Nah,
the
but we love
ball.
him. We love him though.
Oh, dude, I was so happy with what he's done so far this year. So, I know you're going to be short on time, wrapping up here soon. So, what about your predictions and what are your keys to the game?
I think I typically do 2 a week, right? 2 keys of the game, or do I do 3?
It, typically, it's whatever you want. Do whatever you
Okay.
want.
Well, I'm trying to think what I normally like actually do on these shows. I think I do 2 of each. So for offense, I'm gonna go. Can Russ sustain what he did last game? I'm gonna go. Block Dexter Lawrence. Honestly, I feel like that's so easy, but like, yeah, yeah, no, I feel like, yeah, I mean, contain their guys. Bobby Okereke can't take over. Dexter Lawrence can't take over. Brian Burns, if he plays, can't take over. Kayvon Thibodeau. And then for defense, I'm gonna say, I mean, stop the run. And then for defense, I'm actually going to point out my marquee matchup. That's going to be Malik Neighbors and Joey Porter Jr.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm going to say, Joey Porter Jr., have a day, kid. You're fucking awesome. Like, I want to say at the highest volume, amazing last week against the Jets, man. I want to see it again from Peasy Jr. Guy was making tackles behind the line. Guy was locking down Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. I want to see it again, man. I think Neighbors might be a top 10 wide receiver in the league right now, man.
Is he is he going to trail? They haven't done a lot of that yet this year. Is he going to trail a lot of neighbors?
I mean, I feel like they have to because it's like the next best thing is Wandale Robinson. So
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be hard not to. And then prediction wise, I mean, frankly, I think it'd be a little embarrassing if it was anything like my exact prediction, like from back in August, was like 26-10. I'm gonna stick with it. I think 26
All
to
right.
10 Steelers. I think it'd be pretty embarrassing if we don't beat this team by at least 2 scores. Like genuinely
Um,
embarrassing.
oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. This is actually exactly where I was going to go with this. So glad Zach put this out here. So my start to the game is going to be key number one, both offensively and defensively. I do not want to see the Giants running up and down the field on their offense. I do not want to see us come out here and run a 3-and-out where, Russ throws the ball in the dirt 4 yards ahead of a receiver. And we
Calvin
have
Austin
two
third
lanes.
down drops. Damn it. Oh,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Just come out of the gate hot. Let's get on this team early. Let's put this thing away early. Let's all get to bed early on a Monday night. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I'm looking for in this game. So definitely want to see both sides of the ball come out a lot faster than what we've seen so far. Want to continue to see the Russ George Pickens connection continue to grow and build. And then offensively, I really want to see Pat Freiermuth be more involved in the passing game. I mean, I know he got some catches, but we're not. I don't feel like he's a focal part of this offense at all. And I want to see him become more of a. We're going to design plays up for Pat, get him involved, and let him have some good games. Because I think the running game at this point is going to come along one way or the other.
yeah.
And
I like
defensively, I'm
that.
not too worried about too much else. But let's get Pat involved in the passing game. So I think that's my keys. Prediction wise, I really hope this is a blowout. Um, there we go. I think I'm going with like a 37-3 score because they have no business being on the field.
I love that.
I mean, that's the end of it for me. They have no business being on the field. We should be able to win this game pretty easily with our
Yeah.
defense and our offense.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
um, trying to keep. I know you wanted to keep this 50 minutes because your Kansas Jayhawks are coming on here soon. So I'm gonna let you let me know if you have anything else you want to talk about right now. Wrap this thing up.
I mean, yeah, I'm glad we snuck in the neighbors and Porter. Somehow we both forgot, but yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm pretty set. I mean, you got anything else, man?
No, man, no, not at all. I like your call out for that matchup. That should be a good one to watch. Maybe one of the few good ones to watch outside of
Ain't
our
that
offensive
something?
line and their defensive line. So, yeah, man, I'm good about this. I feel good. Hopefully, we stay healthy in the next couple of days and we can get a good win.
Sounds good, man.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you as always. Sorry
Yeah,
that we
thanks for
missed that
having me.
Wednesday. Sorry I didn't get to cancel it because I was out, about elbow deep in grease and crap in my truck. But yeah, so appreciate everybody watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. As Colin's gonna say, go Jayhawks tonight.
Rock chalk, baby. Rock chalk. Come on now.
Love it. All right, buddy. Appreciate you coming on again.
Hey, thanks for having me, bro.
Have a good evening.